Dang. I'm happy that you're here, man. Like, I didn't
Okay.
see when Tim told me that he wanted me to make a podcast, man. I didn't know who could I add to make it the best it could be. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy you're the first guy.
Well, I'm honored to be the first guy. That's fantastic. Thank you.
You've helped so many people when it comes to partyresis, man. Like when it like really like the I do you know how many people that you've helped total?
I I don't honestly know. I assume a couple hundred at least. I don't. I've been doing this for, oh gosh, at least a dozen years. So it's been quite a journey.
Dang, man. That's crazy. Do you have any stories of like like one of the best experiences like that you've or even just the first experience that you truly felt like this is my calling and that you felt like you were doing so much more good in the world than, just in general.
Well, in some ways, this was a natural progression for me because I started recovery about the same time as I retired from teaching, and and I loved teaching. I absolutely loved teaching, and what I loved about teaching was, making a difference in the lives of kids. So I think this kind of was a natural progression because it still allowed me to make a difference in people's lives, which gives more meaning to mine. So that's kind of how it happened. It just was there was a little bit of a void there, and there was this kind of opportunity that just seemed to be a natural fit for me. Um, and it happened by kind of by accident in a way. There was a I was kind of monitoring the IPA talk forum, and there was a young man who was put a post on, and it just kind of struck me. So I contacted him and through a private message, and we emailed back and forth. And I found out he was an immigrant to this country. He was very lonely. He didn't have anybody around. He was isolated by his paresis. And so we struck up I guess an online friendship so that he would have an opportunity to have somebody in this country to connect with. And then he's the first person I tried virtual graduated exposure with, and we're still in contact now. It's been I think 12 years since we had our first contact. Um, and he's the person I'm the person he calls if he has a flat tire and doesn't know what to do, that kind of thing. So you know,
So he's in
so
Wisconsin or like in that
no,
area?
no, he's been in a variety of states because he's moved around on his job. So it's all I have never met him in person, but I've become kind of a second dad to him. So it's been that's kind of been that's how it kind of started.
Wow. Like in like just in like the grand scope, like when did you remember that your partyresis was there? Like because I think everyone with partyresis has that clarity moment before and after partyresis, unless you had like an experience when you were really young. Do you have that before or after partyresis?
I have no before because my pyrrhesis started when I was in kindergarten, um, and I can remember doing things like volunteering to go to the office to take milk money down and things like that so that I would be able to go to the bathroom by myself. So, obviously I didn't know what was going on. I had no words to describe it. I didn't understand it at all, but I knew that I was living that at that point. And so I was even at 5 or 6 years old, I was finding ways to work around it and to cope with it. So my earliest experiences are trying to cope with it and figure out how to get through the day, but I have no memory of before.
Do you feel like you're an anxious person? like outside of partyresis? Did you always feel like you had like an anxiety issue?
I would say that I always was a self-conscious person, that I always was concerned about what people thought of me, and I didn't like to embarrass myself in front of other people. But I don't know whether that was a result of partyresis or something that was in my personality beforehand, because as I said, I don't remember the before. But I would say in some ways I am a self-conscious person, but I wouldn't say that I'm an anxious person.
Do you believe that there's a correlation between internal strength and recovery? Like when you're helping like people, I'm sure you've seen people fall off the wagon. I'm not gonna lie, when we were working together, I fell off the wagon. You know, and
No, that's all right. I kind of have a feeling of how long it's going to take for them to make progress, based a little bit on that feeling of internal strength. I think that's a huge part of it, because a big part of internal strength is being able to get past the misfires, get past the days that don't go well, and be able to put those in proper perspective and move forward. But and every once in a while I'll be working with somebody who really gets down on themselves when they have a bad day, when things don't go well, and that's and so we're constantly working through those, and I know that it will take longer in recovery because of that. So I think internal strength is really important, but I think where it makes the biggest difference is I think anybody who decides they're going to recover and understands how graduated exposure works, hopefully will be able to make progress. There's never any guarantees, but I think somebody who has a lot of internal strength and internal self-discipline is going to find their recovery to go faster than somebody else. Well, I know that I've worked with a lot of guys who have overcome tremendous things. I mean, it might be a sexual assault or something like that. A number of guys have overcome alcohol or drug dependence. That's been a number of guys, and I just have tremendous admiration for them, for the courage they find to be able to do that. And occasionally I've had that conversation saying, I know that you really want to get out and practice and you really want to make progress, but you have this other thing you're dealing with, and that's affecting your life much more. So sometimes you can separate them and sometimes you can't. But I think that those people who have come through that and have come out on the positive end of that struggle sometimes have much more determination once they can finally attack pyresis, to see it through to the end. So I think that it can make a difference, but sometimes that struggle can get in the way too, and so so there are times that simply means this person has a much longer journey. And
Wow.
I feel bad when somebody has, I guess in some ways I was lucky, because when I started to work on pyresis, that's all I had to deal with. you know
Because you were
I
just
did
retired?
Yeah, it's I didn't have general depression. I didn't have I didn't have generalized anxiety. I had no dependence issues. My marriage is stable. I mean, I was just in a pretty good place in general, other than pyresis. The law of attraction, I know a little bit about it. I know that there are parts to it. I guess the part that I would say, yes, I believe in it, is that I do believe that positive thinking can lead to positive results. If that's and I think that's a part of the law of attraction, and I really think that can play a huge role in getting over pyresis. And for instance, and that helped me a great deal. And I'll give you an analogy. I'm a very, very amateur golfer. Okay. And I love to golf, and I have good friends that I golf with. And so when I go out on the golf course, if I'm having a good day, I keep score, because I can, enjoy that and hopefully hit a really good score. If it looks like I'm not playing very well and I'm hitting some bad shots, I'll stop keeping score. So then I can just enjoy the game, and I can enjoy and remember the good shots and forget all those bad ones. So I come out with positive feelings from the round, even though I may not have played very well. I still had some good shots, and I had a good happy, and so I do believe that your thinking can increase. And so I guess part of it is, some of it is, when I was a teacher, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, choose your attitude. And so on any given day, when you walk into that building, you can choose how you are going to think and how you're going to face the day, and it can affect everybody. So if I was standing outside of my classroom and I had a skull on my face when the kids were coming down the hall, they knew that something was off, and they'd come in the room, and the room was already starting on a kind of a pall. But if I had a smile on my face and said, "Good morning, so good to see you," that started things on a positive note, even if I inside was not having a good day. By giving a positive attitude and affecting their attitude, I ended up having a good day.
Mm.
So I do believe how you think can and how you what the attitude you choose can have a huge difference on the outcome.
Okay, that is a good segue into like, do you think that someone's karma can affect their progress? Now, I know we never talk about this in the meetings, but like I just always been curious, well, not everyone really believes in karma, but it's just the idea, like, do good things, bad things, and bad things happen. Like, do you think that people with better karma recover faster?
I don't know if I use the word karma, but if that's, if they look at every situation and see the negative aspects to it, then I do believe, yes, their road to recovery is going to be much bumpier. And I have that has played out with several of the people that I've worked with. And I'm not going to give any names.
Dude, I mean, dude, the you know what's crazy is like, yeah, I noticed that the best part about recovery for me was the attitude change. It was that attitude change from secretive to talkative. To
Hmm.
now I could, like there's moments where I would go on like this like kind of like Omega where like you would go on like a video thing and I just tell random strangers about my partyresis because I wanted to just work on that secondary partyresis, that like fear of, and actually could you just explain to everyone primary and secondary? Actually, that's a good segue into that.
Well, sure. Yeah. Well, primary, and I of course, didn't understand anything about pyresis until, I discovered the IPA, read Steve's book, Dr. Seufer's book, and became educated about what the condition is. But primary pyuresis is the what we all experience, being unable to urinate in the presence of others. And presence can mean perception that somebody may be about to enter or could enter the room. So they don't even have to be in the room with you, but that in the presence of others. Um, then the secondary pyuresis is all of the emotional stuff that goes with that. That is, for many men, it's the feelings of emasculation, and certainly I felt that as well. The feelings of frustration, of helplessness, of and self doubt and self blame, and I think probably the worst one is feelings of shame, and that's the one that is so destructive to so many people, is living in shame, and that's when they become secretive and go to extraordinary lengths to keep anybody from learning about it, is because of those feelings of shame. So basically, that's it. The main part of pyuresis is primary is the physical aspect.
And and I just wanted to bring up real quick, and thank you for saying
Sure.
that, because I wanted to bring up, did when you were working as a music teacher, did you try to carry any of those experiences into your recovery? Like how did that, like, I'm sure you had a lot of moments where you had to tell kids like keep your chin up, did you have to give yourself those pep talks?
Well, the interesting thing is, I had to say that to kids, but in many ways, it's simply a matter of, letting kids know that success comes with time and practice, and a certain amount of patience and perseverance, and and because I was teaching kids when they were first starting out, and nobody, and somebody would want to play the theme from Star Wars, and they've only been playing for 3 weeks, and I'd have to say, we're not quite ready to play that yet, so let's start with Merrily We Roll Along and see if we can get that going first, and so understanding that there is this kind of progression of that happens, one success at a time, and that it happens over time, and you have to have patience, you have to have perseverance, and above all, you have to regularly practice. And boy, when I got into recovery, I went to an IPA workshop, and Dr. Seufer was leading that one and was, kind of coaching people about what practice is and how important it is to practice. I'm in the back row thinking, hey, I'm an expert on that.
Right.
That's what I taught. I basically taught kids how to practice and the
Wow.
importance of practice, and what can happen over time if you practice. So I think if there's one word that comes out of the teaching I gave kids that I was able to just turn around and take it for myself and then pass on to all the guys I work with, it is practice. It is the importance of practice.
So you would say that that's the most important experience or lesson, and that if you would share one lesson just from that time in your life, you would share it to the world about practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I when I play my instrument, and I'm not a professional musician, but I've played a lifetime, so I play, enjoy playing, and enjoy playing with others. And every once in a while, somebody will say, "You're so talented," and I take it as compliment and thank you very much. And I'm thinking, no, 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 that's the result of thousands and thousands of hours sitting in my basement, practicing my instrument. That's where that comes from. And I'm thank God I did that, and and I knew that if I did that at the time, that it would eventually lead to the experiences I did have, which is enjoying playing music with others. But it took a long time to get there, and I was able to have that self discipline to just kind of wait, until once I want practice and learn one skill at a time and build it up until I could play.
And what was the instrument that you played?
I played an instrument called euphonium, which is like a little tuba.
Oh,
Um, I
you,
also played trombone. Those were two main instruments. Still play them.
you played trombone?
I do.
Isn't that kind of like the okay, so this is this a euphonium?
That is euphonium. Right.
So how would you define greatness, especially in the program? Now, like that's really complex, I know, but like how would you define it
Yeah.
in recovery?
Oh, I don't know that I can define it in recovery. I can define it in people. I can define it in, if I was looking for greatness, I could certainly say I see that in Dr. Seufer because of the number of people that he has touched all over the world. It's and so he has elevated his work has elevated him to that level of greatness for what I from my point of view. Um, but in terms of recovery itself, I'm not sure that I can figure out how to use that word.
Yeah. Well, just to lean in, lean in on what you were saying, like, so how do you know somebody is great? Just outside of like, is it their actions? Is it their words? Is it both? Like, because I'm sure at your age, you kind of have a sense of like, this person has potential, this person doesn't. And what gives you that itch, that gut feeling?
I think the people that I would always define it as great are people who have taken time in their life to make sure that they are affecting the lives of others. So I know some people who are extremely um, successful people. I know somebody who's a CEO of a major company. I'm not going to give a name, but financially successful, professionally successful. But I wouldn't define that person as great because what that person does not really lift people's lives. So I think greatness is defined from my own point of view by whether or not you lift other people's lives. So within the world of IPA, and it's the people that I've met who have gone out of their way to take what has been um, I don't want to say a difficulty. It's because it's more than that. A painful experience, and a constricting experience and a life altering experience in a negative way, and turned it around to lift other people's lives and to make sure they don't have the same kinds of experiences. Those are the people that I would say.
Hmm. Wow, man. Thank you for sharing that, man. So you truly believe that if you help people, that will lead to what greatness is, like, or attain what where where your level of greatness or your threshold is through helping people. Is that what you think?
I think every person, if you're saying greatness in somebody else, I think we all have different definitions. I don't think any two people would have this exactly the same definition of it. So from my own point of view, that to me, that is what defines greatness. Yes.
Okay, and I think this is the final question, man. I
Sure.
appreciate your time, bro. Other than if you have anything to plug, is what would you thank your party Reese's for? Like out of
Oh,
everything, like in your life, if you could point at your party Reese's and say, "I'm thankful for my party Reese's just for this one thing," what would it be?
yeah. It's funny because I my life changed 16 years ago when I started recovery. I mean, it was a life altering experience. And and so from that point on, I was everything became positive because I would have all these new experiences. I would use bathrooms I was never able to use before. I would go to places I avoided before. I have developed friendships that I avoided, so long in my life. I allowed myself to experience life in a way I didn't before. Um, and once I did that, I think I opened myself to be able to also be a mentor for those guys. That's what allowed me to be the mentor. And once I became a mentor and and started meeting these amazing people, that's when Pyrrhesis became a positive part of my life. It's the people that I met, people like you that I worked with, that changed their lives because of something we said and talked about in our conversation and did in our practice, and so I've met so many of those guys who have moved on and I don't see them anymore, but the uh, the experience we had together and the conversations we had together and the connect an entirely positive experience. So I would say that it's the people.
Wow, man. And I just want to let you know straight up, Dave, like you helped me a lot. Like when I was struggling and I had like just reached out and I didn't know you were the first my first connect other than Tim. And it was that love that, made me want to pursue a job at the IPA as well. So, and helping so many people. And I sent you that email with that the guy
Mhm.
last week. That was my first ever email. And I'm sure you get those like all the time. It's like candy, for you. But like I was thinking about like framing it on a wall, and really cherishing that moment. So your inspiration inspires everyone, man. And so I just want to just say you're appreciated, man. You really are appreciated, for real. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. There again.
Yeah, I want to see the instruments. Like, do you got an instrument like nearby that I can see
Well,
real
this
quick?
is this is my euphonium. This is what I play most of the time.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
always handy.
Can you
And
bring it with you or no?
no, I won't bring
Damn.
that with me. But I know it's funny because I bought that in 1974 when I graduated from high school, from college. I got my first job, and with my first paycheck, I put a down payment on this instrument. And the guy who owned the music store insisted to me that I spend the money and buy a quality instrument. He said it will last a long time. If you buy a cheaper instrument, you're going to have to buy a new one in a few years. I have now had this instrument for 52 years.
Oh my God.
Same
How do you
instrument. It
maintain
still
it?
still plays beautifully. Still plays wonderfully.
How do you
After
maintain it?
I just oil the valves.
Wow, what kind of oil do you use?
There's special oil for music instruments.
And like, do you wash it? Oh no, that's crazy.
I do wash it occasionally, and then every couple of years I will have it. I will take it to the music store, and they put it in a vat of chemicals and flush it through out entirely. So I mean the finish is worn off. In a lot of places, it's not shiny anymore like it was, But there are other places that it is the shiny. I mean, like here it's
Yeah.
still shiny because I don't touch there. Any place that I touch, that my hands have worn it off over the years. But that's it. I mean, that's the only thing wrong with it is it's not shiny anymore. And does that really matter? So
Would it be too much to ask you to play a little bit just so I could hear what it sounds like? If that's okay. I'm sorry,
oh,
man. I know you
yeah.
gotta be ready. You made the face like screw this guy.
Not sure.
You're
I'm
like,
not sure what.
I don't know,
Um,
Beethoven or something.
okay. Okay. All right. Though this is an exercise I was practicing a little while ago. I have to put on different glasses.
Really? Wow.
Yes, I do have to put on different glasses. Because they're actually music reading glasses.
Ooh, they make special music reading glasses?
Well, they're mid-range glasses. They're because I have bifocals which are far and close, and so he estimated what the middle would be, and so that's actually worked pretty well. So yeah, all right. So uh, this is just so you can hear the sound of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Dang. Dang. How long does it take to get okay, 52 years. Damn. Dang. What song was that?
It was just an exercise from a book. It doesn't even have a name.
Do you like the saxophone? Like is that I know you had to teach it, but like is it like would you consider that your top three as well or just
The
trombone and
euphonium, saxophone is probably no way down on the list
Hmm.
because it's how do I just it's the easiest instrument to get a first sound on. When kids would come in and try their instruments, the saxophone was the easiest one to get a sound on. And so quite often the kids who wanted didn't want to practice, they simply wanted to find the easiest instrument to play, would pick the saxophone. And so I found a lot of times it was the kids that I found kind of frustrating.
Oh my goodness. Did you notice that after like in the newer generations people cling to the saxophone?
um, well, yeah, and it was so popular I had to actually limit the number of kids that could play it. And
Hmm.
so because otherwise I would have this is saxophone band, So
Well, dude, thank you for showing me that. Like, I really
yeah.
appreciate it. And I love music and like I'm
Mhm.
learning like I got the piano back there. I don't know if you can see it. But,
Mhm.
yeah, so
Yeah,
did you like that scary piano
I
thing?
did. I did. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you something new I think you'll like, man.
Okay.
So
Okay. You do that.
thank you. Thank you again
You
for this,
do
man.
that.